Howdy, my name is Shane Barnes, and this is my Psychology in Film project. My character that I chose for my project is Greg Heffley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a movie that came out in 2010. Its main character is Greg Heffley. He is a 12-year-old boy living with his mother, father, and two brothers in a typical American suburban neighborhood. Greg is entering the sixth grade, and most of the film orbits around Greg's experience in school. When it is not focused on school, the film will briefly touch up on Greg's relationship with his family and his only known friend, Raleigh Jefferson. My diagnosis is that Greg Heffley has narcissistic personality disorder. Greg Heffley shows multiple signs of narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. The culture of the film is almost identical to the culture found in most of America, and if Greg Heffley were to go to a therapist, the diagnosis would undoubtedly be narcissistic personality disorder. One prevalent aspect about NPD that Drs. Salman Akhtar and Anderson Thomas point out in their article overview, Narcissistic Personality Disorder, is that NPD is more prominent in males, and this could be attributed by the cultural expectations of males in our society. Within our own culture, which is very similar to the culture in the film, the word narcissist is thrown around whenever somebody does anything considered selfish, or when somebody acts full of themselves. This stigma tends to draw attention away from the fact that NPD is a serious mental disorder and instead makes it seem like it is a personality trait. I have some evidence for this. Throughout the course of the film, we see multiple events that showcase Greg's symptoms for NPD. The two most prevalent are Greg's fantasies about success, power, and brilliance, as well as Greg's tendencies to be intrapersonally exploitative, as in taking advantage of others for his own gain. When the movie first opens, Greg gives a speech about how differently his friends and family will treat him when he's rich and famous in the future. This is a textbook example of a power fantasy. As for exploitation, Greg goes as far as to impersonate his only friend, Rowley, to cover up his misconduct while on safety patrol, which is like this little on-campus club where they lead little kids to buses. This leads to Rowley getting kicked out of the club, and safety patrol is Rowley's life. It is his thing, and Greg Heffley just takes advantage of that and throws it out the window. Both of these examples line up with DSM-5's description of the symptoms. Published in 2013, the DSM-5 states that somebody is showing signs of NPD if they are preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited power, success, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love, just like Greg Heffley is in the beginning of the film. And another thing that it says is if they are interpersonally exploitative, i.e., take advantage of others to achieve his or her own needs, just like Greg Heffley with Safety Patrol. Dr. Akhtar once again provides more insight about NPD, stating that these symptoms can often be confused with those of atypical affective disorder. That's the relationship between some of Greg Heffley's symptoms and the real psychological world. My proposed treatment is group therapy. NPD, like most other personality disorders, is difficult to treat because it requires the patient to want to be treated, especially NPD. One form of treatment that seems to have shown promise is group therapy. According to Dr. Igor Weinberg, group therapy has been effective on clients working to enhance their life skills. Weinberg also mentions that clients with NPD often also have anxiety disorders and depression that can be treated through medication. When speaking from an ethical perspective, it is important to remember that Greg Heffley is 12, and addressing any other disorders or conditions with medication could be destructive at his age. The reason group therapy would be so beneficial to Greg is because it leaves room for him to be with his family, something a young boy desperately needs. As far as barriers to treatment, Greg's condition would have to escalate to a level to where his parents take notice. Because Greg is a child, he can't just go to a therapist on his own terms. It has to get to a point where his parents notice it and then take him to therapy. As for broader perspectives, Greg Heffley in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, amazing film, but Greg portrays 5 of the 9 symptoms of NPD, which is a little strange because the movie is very lighthearted in tone and it's just a funny movie, and it actually has a very accurate portrayal of NPD. Across all media, however, personality disorders can be warped into something novel or unrealistic, distorting the public's definition of this disorder. We see this with schizoid personality disorder. We see it with obsessive compulsive personality disorder. People are just walking around with unrealistic, incorrect interpretations of these disorders. This is why depictions of personality disorders in TV or in movies often give the public inaccurate understandings of personality disorders. And here are my references.